The Armstrong-Whitworth Company during World War One. The Armstrong-Whitworth Company was the northern powerhouse of Britain's war industry before and during World War One. With factories and shipyards in Newcastle upon Tyne and factories at Openshaw, Manchester, the company was one of the most important contributors of weapons, ships and aircraft to the British war effort, and it is this story which we will be looking at today. The main product of the Armstrong-Whitworth Company was the 18 and 60-pounder artillery guns. These heavy guns formed the backbone of the British Army's artillery and were crucial in the trench warfare that occurred on the Western Front, firing shrapnel and high explosive shells at the German trenches in an attempt to dislodge the defenders before an assault or as a defensive weapon on the occasions when the Germans attacked. The 60-pounder in particular was the specialist product of the company and was the most powerful weapon in the British arsenal. As well as the heavy guns, the company had dedicated shell factories for the ammunition of these guns. These factories employed many unskilled members of the labour force who had been brought in just as the company had expanded to produce more and more material as the war went on. To show just how much the company expanded through the war, let us look at the employment figures, which show that in November 1913, the company employed 26,561 people, of which 20,669 were working on Tyneside. If we compare this to the figures at the time of the armistice in 1918, the company employed 78,000 people. 21,000 of these were women who had been brought in at the shell factories. This, of course, does not take into account the 10% decrease in the labour force in 1914 when men of the company volunteered to join the British Army. The company were also the only producers of the 6-pounder tank guns on British tanks. Therefore, all British World War I mail tanks were armed by Geordies. The company were world-renowned shipbuilders before the war and had made significant contributions to the Royal Navy before the war, producing battleships such as HMS Swiftsure and cruisers like HMS Lancaster. These ships were part of the reform going on in the Royal Navy under the guise of Jackie Fisher, who favoured fast cruisers to defend the British Empire's shipping routes, while heavy battleships would remain in the reserve fleet. The production of these vessels carried on into the war, alongside producing submarines equipped with the Elzig-designed torpedo tubes weapon system. These vessels were all part of a system of blockading Germany so that they could not bring in foreign imports through the North Sea. Following the naval engagements at the Battle of Jutland in 1916, the company played an important role in repairing ships at the Tyneside shipyards at both Elzig and Walker. In 1917, the Germans began their campaign of unrestricted submarine warfare, which meant that their submarine commanders could sink any ship they saw without warning. This had catastrophic effects for Britain, as food and steel was ending up at the bottom of the sea. The Armstrong-Whitworth Company helped to solve this problem by arming merchant vessels with anti-submarine weapons such as depth charges, and by building Q-boats. These Q-boats were designed to look like normal merchant vessels, but when an enemy submarine surfaced to attack, the sides of the ship would be dropped, revealing various weapons to fire upon the submarine. The company also built merchant ships to combat the losses of merchant ships. As part of the convoy system, the company built an aircraft carrier and converted another ship into an aircraft carrier, as well as building sloop ships to also participate in the escorting of merchant ships across the Atlantic. Produced on Newcastle Town Moor at the Armstrong Aircraft Works, the company designed and built two main types of aircraft during the war, the Fk-3 and the Fk-8. Both aircraft operated on all fighting fronts, performing a variety of roles: night and day bombing, artillery spotting, long-distance reconnaissance, firing directly into enemy trenches, and dropping food supplies to advanced troops. The Fk-3 was mainly an observation aircraft, which did not have the fixed Vickers machine gun at the front or a Lewis gun at the rear like the later Fk-8, which was as much a fighter aircraft as it was a close support aircraft. On the Western Front, the Fk-8 was used for observation, artillery spotting and dogfighting, and, further into the war, took on roles alongside the infantry and tank units, directly attacking trenches and retreating troops. In early July 1918, Major Trafford Lee Mallory's squadron of Fk-8s was assigned to the Tank Corps to act as an aircraft liaison which assisted in stopping German anti-tank operations. On the Egyptian front, the Fk-8 aided General Allenby's victorious offensive in Palestine, playing a significant role in this victory, alongside Fk-3s, which performed in an observation capacity, as they were now not effective enough for combat. The aircraft blockaded the enemy airfields and were able to annihilate the capitulated Turkish 7th and 8th Armies in pursuit after the Battle of Megiddo. This aircraft also served on the Macedonian Salonika front, aiding in operations against the Bulgarian forces, which resulted in the destruction of the Bulgarian Second Army on September 21, 1918. The Geordies on the Tyne and the Mancunians at Openshaw played an important role for Britain during World War I as part of the Armstrong-Whitworth Company, producing large quantities of heavy artillery guns and shell, tanks and tank guns at the armaments factories, building battleships, cruisers and submarines for the Royal Navy at the shipyards, constructing aircraft to serve on all fronts of the war. The contributions of this Northern Company and the Northerners under its employ should not be forgotten as a key contributor to Allied victory in World War I, lest we forget.